It was recently announced that Animal Crossing Pocket Camp would be shutting down later this year, shortly after its 7th anniversary. I've been playing on and off since launch. I think it's a fun spin-off entry in the series that a lot of people unfortunately passed up on. I have a video up on the channel that already sings the game's praises though, so I figured in the wake of the game's shutdown in the next few months that I'd make this video a sort of farewell to what I argue is still one of the best mobile games out there. Now, before we start, I do just want to mention two things. First, after the app closes, a paid offline version will be made available where you can transfer your save data across and continue to play the game just without any networking or paid features. Secondly, up until November, there will still be new content drops for the game, which I just find really cool. There's a window of time for people to give this game a first or a second try before they'd have to pay for access, and the game will still be receiving content and operating as it usually would be, to my understanding. You're not getting any less of an experience, despite the fact the game's shutting down in, less than 2 months as of recording, which I think is very good to get a full impression of if you want to spend money or not once that is the only way to play the game. So yeah, if you're at all interested about playing Pocket Camp, then I'd highly encourage you to act on that feeling sooner rather than later. So with that said, did anybody else get the impression this announcement was really weird? I've not been able to recently find an accurate measure of the game's player count, or that's at least what I would be saying if in the process of making this video I ended up stumbling across footage from a very recent event which, again, had a very nice community total that I could use to work backwards from and calculate some player numbers for each day. So in this one, you had to stop a watermelon on time. The maximum each account could score within this event was 9. And thankfully, to the kind person whose will be on screen, they took footage for the first and second day. So the first day's total-ish was 1,034,901, so you divide that by 9, assuming everybody plays perfectly, and you get 114,989. They do also have footage from the second day of the event though too, so in case you're interested about that, that was 2,013,174. You divide that by 9, then divide that total by 2 for per day players, and you get 111,843. Now that is down from the first video's 403,000 minimum estimate that we estimated. Again, these numbers will probably be a little bit higher, and this event does seem generally a little bit more difficult than that one, so that's either here or there. But still, I think 100k players in a single day is pretty good. And considering that's the minimum, I wouldn't be surprised if it was higher, but that does raise the question of, if the game's bringing in 100k players a day, surely enough of them are spending money or have subscriptions to at the very least make the game viable to keep running. So if the game isn't shutting because it's no longer financially profitable, then why is it? It felt abrupt too. I would have expected the game to go into an end-of-life mode where it got new content and stayed online for a while, but there's content planned, good content, especially for in November, which just seems, if anything, sudden, but in line with something else that I think makes a little sense. See, originally, Pocket Camp was meant to link with New Leaf after the Welcome Amiibo update. However, this functionality was scrapped, presumably because Pocket Camp released after that update for one reason or another. Whereas I originally think Pocket Camp was meant to launch before or at the same time as Welcome Amiibo. This puts the app in a weird spot, where it doesn't link with the game it was supposedly meant to, but does link in a few ways with New Horizons, but only on a very surface level. You get some items, and that's it. It couldn't go deeper than that because I think Pocket Camp is fundamentally a game that links closely with New Leaf. From the art style to the ever-presence of retail to the implication that this is a campsite near your New Leaf town, Pocket Camp is tied to that game in so close a way to where if Nintendo wants to ever link a future mainline game to a mobile game, that Pocket Camp simply wouldn't fit the bill. New Horizons had a crossover event in the game, but that was it. Without severe rewrites to the game, that's pretty much all I think they could have done in order to link it with New Horizons. I think knowing the success of New Horizons, that Nintendo would look to create a mobile game to feed into the next game's hype, and in an art style that matches the game. Pocket Camp's biggest complaint is that it got so much more good content which just didn't make it to New Horizons, but I imagine having looked at each game's art style that it wouldn't be as easy as a simple drag and drop. These are two very different art styles, there would need to be at least a tiny little bit of work done per model, and with the sheer amount of items in Pocket Camp, I don't think the development team would have really seen that much an increase in sales to justify doing it. That said, there were a lot of people willing to shell out some form of money for that to be the case, and I think it'd be silly if Nintendo didn't capitalise on that willingness that people had with the next entry, and I think that the closure of Pocket Camp is likely to reallocate resources to a newer Animal Crossing game that would link with the next mainline game more directly. Nintendo likely know the paid app is going to get less traffic than a new free app, so sunsetting Pocket Camp at this time makes sense to give some time to breathe following the closure before they announce whatever project is due to replace it. Which I suppose even if it's true or not, I'm not wholly sad to see the game go, because it's not really going anywhere. I think the paid version is a great idea to preserve the game and the hours everyone has put into it. Of course, I can't form a complete opinion before we get info, but the fact Pocket Camp isn't entirely gone like many other games would be is nice. There have been revival projects for shuttered apps in the past, sure, but having an official way to keep playing the game and moving it away from a free-to-play model after an initial payment this time is good. I wish more games did this, there's many I think deserved it just as much, but I'm happy Pocket Camp was one of the lucky few to get that treatment because I ultimately think it is one that deserves it. So, on that note, I do want to pay tribute to what I still think is one of the best mobile games ever made. There's some stuff I failed to mention in the initial video that, especially with the impending closure of the version I've known for almost 7 years, feels appropriate to share. I'll defend Pocket Camp a lot, and even though the paid version is undoubtedly going to be a better experience, I don't want to leave that with the impression that the original version was as much less of a product that some people will likely end up saying. And I think my first point towards that is something that most of Nintendo's apps share. But Pocket Camp has no advertisements. They'll try and sell you things, obviously, but in terms of mobile games, it's weird to see a free one without ads. Though it's more common now, God only knows the rights that would be caused if Genshin added randomly occurring ads. But for a game launched in 2017, I never realised how nice it was to not have to deal with ads, until I would switch to an app that did have them, as well as premium currency and the like. Don't get me wrong, I love some Sonic Forces speed battle as much as the next guy, but getting a post-match advert did throw me off some, especially then as I would have to watch more adverts to make sure I kept getting my rewards. Like, I still think we're all somewhat accustomed to ads at this point, so it doesn't bother me overtly, but when I see greener pastures in games like Genshin and Pocket Camp, it does stand out a little more. I never had to stop playing in those games, if that makes sense, and that kind of made them feel more like actual games rather than mobile games. Nintendo always do things a little different than that to their competitors, but in my opinion Pocket Camp's model was ultimately one based in confidence. They were fine with you never spending money on the game or seeing an ad. Like, you could cost Nintendo money just by playing the game and using their servers and not spending anything. But the fact you could do that, to me, shows a confidence in the game itself. They knew the items would be good enough for you to maybe want to spend a little, and the game itself was fun enough to make any sort of investment you'd put into it worthwhile. And I have no doubt that when the subscriptions were introduced too, that there was confidence that there were enough people who'd use them to justify the resources spent to develop them. And for a game that had a 7-year run, I'd say their guess was right. I did say this in my video on Restaurant City, but I'll say it again now, but when a developer respects me and doesn't try to force microtransactions and ads down my throat at every turn, that in turn makes me more willing to spend a little cash here and there, and I know for a fact that despite never spending anything on Pocket Camp, that because I feel respected as a player, that I'll be more than happy to break my streak of not spending anything on the game once the paid version releases. Though that said, I am happy to pay double if they allow me to orbitally strike Gulliver's ship out of the game. I maintain that whereas everything else in the game works beautifully, that one just got a bit silly with how awkward it made getting villagers. You need essence to roll on the maps you get, and you primarily get more essence by having more villagers of that type. But getting villagers behind maps is like, I get the base set of furnitures where I can just make furniture to invite them with significantly less investment, and once that's done I get hit with the 1-2 combo of needing to use the bow and then the maps to get one single villager. It is the worst part of the game by far, and I am praying it is somehow reworked into a better state for the offline version. Continuing on, I still find Pocket Camp as a game something that weirdly works. It largely removes the socialization aspect of Animal Crossing, yet still feels as though it functions fully as an entry into the series. Like, whereas we got Happy Home Designer that expanded on the designer elements of the game around the same time to pretty good success, Pocket Camp feels like the series focusing on almost everything else other than interacting with your villagers, albeit to a minimised extent. Like, there's a loan, you can decorate, and the core loop consists of gathering items in a manner that you would do in the main game and delivering them to villagers. Like, we're missing the museum. The game at its core is about the series' fetch quests that you might occasionally get but then dialed up to 11. It should not work, and yet it does, because in the elements it removes, that will allow the game to have the low investment of a mobile game whilst keeping almost everything else that makes the series what it is in varying capacities. I don't think this game was a cash grab, because I think in order for it to work as well as it does, that the team clearly had to understand the series a damn well of a bunch to make sure that the jump to mobile was one that was faithful to the series. It doesn't feel like a mobile game with Animal Crossing slapped on top of it. It feels like an Animal Crossing game that has had its elements changed to fit on a mobile device. And I genuinely think that the team cared about the game, because I think the easier option of just making it a quick cash grab title would have likely generated more money and required significantly less development resources and time. Like, the fact that Pocket Camp is, well, Pocket Camp, to me, shows that the development team clearly cared deeply for the series to make an adaptation that was faithful, but again, still worked as a mobile game that would generate the money through a free-to-play model. As I said in my original video, I also found the game generous enough in giving out Leaf tickets, enough to warrant mentioning, which, on reflection, is a little weird. See, when the closure was announced, there was a fair share of posts that celebrated the closure because of the monetization. Now, everybody is free to their own opinion, but it did get me thinking. I've played the game and think that the game is actually quite generous in what it gives me, but could there be something about the game that would give people an opposite impression? You have to imagine, a lot of people will be aware of Pocket Camp, but a lot less of them will have actually played the game. So I got to thinking. See, first impressions are everything, so I went and rewatched the direct that unveiled the game for the first time. And, yeah, I think dropping the mention of Leaf tickets barely 4 minutes into the presentation isn't really a smart move. Like, sell me on the game in its entirety before you try and sell me on its premium currency, because I guarantee that a lot of people weren't already sold on the game or were kind of waiting for something like that to come up. And, you know, if you're not convinced by the 4-minute mark and you see them dropping premium currency, you're probably going to dip out right there. And then the same day, we were blessed with this lovely image. I know this image, you know this image. If you think Pocket Camp, you're probably going to think image of Tom Nook in a bathtub full of Leaf tickets. Like, I hear it's great thumbnail material. However, I think to some people it might have actually put them off the game. You gotta think, the director's already introduced Leaf tickets in a less than stellar manner, so if you're already teetering 50-50 and you see this image doing the rounds, depending on what signals you get from it, it might put you off. Or, you know, again, if you're looking for a nail to put in the coffin to confirm your preconceived notion of the game of being a cash grab before you even gave it a try, that'll do it. That'll do it. Like, I love the image. I think it's funny. But I can't deny, if I wanted to be in the headspace to spin that to be something negative, I could very easily do that. And especially if I'm teetering on the fence, and I already have a slight negative opinion of the game, then yeah, I think seeing the embodiment of capitalism having the time of his life in a bathtub full of the premium currency they're probably gonna try and push me to get with my own hard-earned money, yeah, that'll do it. Like, I also don't think adding Pocket Camp Club as an anniversary update was either the smartest move. Like, same with fortune cookies being added post-launch, they were absent from the direct. Like, that just gave people more ammunition to, you know, further shoot down the game and justify them not playing it while still holding at least a partial dislike towards it. And from an outsider's perspective, I can't exactly blame them. Pocket Camp is a game I think you need to play to understand the extent to which its monetization runs. But the fact is that the mobile gaming space is generally not all free-to-play friendly. I can't blame people for seeing subscriptions, premium currency, and a gacha being added to the game and not wanting to try the game while still holding a negative stance towards it, because if I hadn't played the game, I probably would at the very least have similar thoughts. And on an entirely different note about the direct, like, my god, take me back to that UI style and loading screen we had at launch. Like, it's just swap the contacts button for the planner that we've got now, and we're set. It genuinely looks so much better. This video was never going to be super long, but to round this out, I do want to talk about my experience with Pocket Camp. I played it day one using an install file from the soft launch in Australia, and for a solid while I played it every day. I would say for at least a solid few months into like spring 2018, it was my routine to play it as I was en route to school and on the way home. Specifically, I would walk through a park, so I knew there'd be no cars, and I have a lot of memories walking through there and doing my requests, briefly swapping to Pokemon Go to see if I could quickly slide one of my guys into the gym and get some free Pokecoins, and then swapping back. I have a lot of memories of the early days of this game, and genuinely having so much fun with it. For some odd reason, I really liked playing it to round out my day. I would sit in bed, usually timing it so I'd finish all my requests just before time was up and I got some more, and just vibe out. I never had to spend any money to enjoy those moments. Pocket Camp was, and still is, more than enough for me to enjoy even 7 years after launch, regardless of the fact I've never spent anything on the game until this point. Like, I think if you give Pocket Camp a chance and get it, which I understand is increasingly hard given the amount of things added from what the initial direct covered, but if you get it, and push over that initial hill to, you know, understand what's going on with the game, you got it. Ultimately, that feeling is what drove me to make that first video, which only kickstarted this channel. I thought Pocket Camp could have done with some more positive coverage, and I thought that video would flop really hard because who would still care for this game now? And yet the answer was an awful lot of people. Seriously, it was so cool seeing all your comments on that video talking about your own experiences with the game. I think Pocket Camp has genuinely well earned its flowers and remains the best content we got between New Leaf and New Horizons. Hell, I think it eclipses the update that it was initially meant to be a companion by a good amount, and definitely kept up interest in the franchise more strongly than Welcome Amiibo ever did. I'm sad to see Pocket Camp go, but I'm also happy to see it stick around in the offline version, if that makes sense. I think it is a damn shame it won't see any new content following November because that team was genuinely talented, but somewhere I also know that we've had more than enough by this point. Tri-monthly furniture sets plus cookies is like... I think the offline version will keep me occupied a while before I manage to get everything and end up being bored. If there's another Animal Crossing mobile game on the horizon, like I think there might be, it's gonna have extremely big shoes to fill. But if I'm right in assuming we're seeing the end of this service because they want to reallocate the current Pocket Camp team onto the project, then I think we're in good hands. If it's the same team, they've already proven they can make a damn good game once, and with a few more experience under the belt by now, I wouldn't be surprised that should a new mobile game release, that it would reach the heights that Pocket Camp never could have, and personally, I'm really looking forward to that. Still, in the time the free version has left, I'd encourage anyone interested enough to give the app a try and at least blink at New Horizons to get the exclusive items there. I know I'll be playing the paid version once it releases, and I'm happy to see what changes they make. But 7 years is one hell of a run, and personally, I'm really excited to see what Nintendo's mobile department cups up next time. I'm kind of happy, actually, that I had to end up rewriting this video at the very end, because I wrote this video kind of just blindly, like, I didn't know what the Pocket Camp dev staff had for us in terms of end of service. For all I knew, I assumed I would be getting a few quality of life improvements and, you know, basically paying for access to the game for as long as I wanted it. And, you know, I'm very happy I got the chance to rewrite it, because now I know what the future is for Pocket Camp. I wouldn't say I'm Pocket Camp's #1 defender, but goddammit, I will be there one way or another. So, I think it's actually a more fitting bookend than this video's original ending to just end it like this. We now know what Pocket Camp is like, and it still kind of hurts to know that, you know, at some point in 2025, we're not going to get any more items. You know, I can't see my friends casually hanging out at the campsite. The free version is over, which I think is something to be sad about, but in seeing what is just in store for us for Pocket Camp Complete, I could not be happier that I ended up writing this video, because this was a goodbye to a game that I have loved for 7 years, and will continue to love for many more years through this paid version. And just seeing the care that's gone into Pocket Camp Complete, I know to some people might seem minuscule, but to me shows that the shits I gave about this game for the over half a decade I've been playing it were well founded. I still think Pocket Camp's development team do not get enough credit. I cannot wait to see what they whip up. I don't know exactly if they're gonna, you know, move on to start making the next Animal Crossing mobile game, and, you know, Pocket Camp will slowly taper off as time goes on. You know, maybe the next game releases as the content for Pocket Camp Complete just slowly dries up. We'll see. But at the very least, I think a lot of care has gone into Pocket Camp Complete, which I'm happy about. Of course, we won't know the full extent of everything until I get the game in my hands, so do feel free to go check out the main channel. I will be playing it day one over there. It'll be on the end screen. But as far as I'm concerned, this was a goodbye to Animal Crossing Pocket Camp for now. I've got a lot of good memories with this game. I think, generally and genuinely, it's going to remain one of the best mobile games, and it's definitely going to be one of the better paid mobile games. Like, I think with the pure quality of life and convenience stuff they've introduced, you would be silly not to give this game a go. I do think the price tag will turn up some noses, but that is how it is. You know, at the end of the day, you might be missing out. So that's my 2 takes away on it. So I think it's only right that I round this video out with the original outro I had for this, but with a slight twist on it. So thank you for 7 years of really goddamn good times, Pocket Camp. Again, one of the best mobile games and dev teams to have ever done it, in my opinion. They all genuinely deserve the world, whatever they choose to go on to next. And yeah, you know, it's sad to see the version I grew up with going away, and knowing that still at some point that will be the last content drop. You know, it does sting a little bit, but everything does have to, you know, have an end of service at some point if it's a game like that. So thank you for 7 really good years of content, Pocket Camp. Genuinely, it has been a blast, but I'm afraid, at least in this version, it's going to be goodbye for now. But it doesn't sting that much, because at the very least I know that there'll be a new, very good version that I'll be seeing not too far from now. And welcome to the outro. I'm recording this right after I finished editing the rest of the video. So yes, I'm going to try and keep this under 2 minutes. So first things first, thank you if you've supported any videos since that initial Pocket Camp video. That video really did kickstart the channel popularity, so yeah, I really did want to make sure I did the game justice at its shutdown in this video. Hopefully you guys think I did. It's very personal, it's very different, but hopefully it resonates with some people the way that the first video seemed to as well. Seriously, it's been a wild ride since I uploaded that video, so thank you if you've been along with it. I will link on the end screen, by the way, the video that goes over the new stuff they're adding in the paid version called Pocket Cam Complete. I was going to in that face cam segment at the end. I recorded that after everything else when I found out what was in Pocket Cam Complete, and yeah, I was recovering from food poisoning that day, so I just conveniently forgot to go over it, and I would have re-recorded it now, but it's 2:19 AM, so I think I'm out of luck with that one if I want to try and get this one out slightly less later than it already is, so yeah. But yeah, I think that's everything for now primarily. If I can encourage you guys to like, comment, subscribe, that would mean a lot. Again, it's a different video. I'm going to try and get Sonic Frontiers' long overdue review out soon. Ideally before the end of November, we'll see. It might not be over an hour, it might not be. I'm starting on the script, it's looking interesting, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then the December video, who knows what it's gonna be. It's gonna be something quirky again, but I assure you I'll cook something up for you guys. I got 2 more videos before the year ends. I think that's everything. As usual, thank you for all of the support. It's super weird to be saying goodbye to Pocket Camp, but like also not at the same time. Oh, and yeah, before I forget, here's my Pocket Camp friend code. You got a few days to use it before it becomes redundant, but yeah, go crazy with it. I fill up my friends list. You know, I've got Billiam and Mayor Mori on my friends list, so it really is a place of prestige. So yeah, I think that's everything for real. And hey, we actually kept it under 2 minutes, so yes, I think that's everything for now. So yeah, this has been Remic2, and thanks for watching.